Rudram imam brahman bhutanam veshabhupade Rudra. Lord Shiva has two popular names, Rudra and Ashutosha. He is very prone to anger as well as quickly pacified. Diti knew that because of his being quickly angered, he might spoil the pregnancy she had so unlawfully achieved. But because he was also Ashutosha, brāhmaṇa husband, to help her in pacifying Lord Shiva, for her husband was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. In other words, Lord Shiva might have been angry with Diti because she obliged her husband to transgress the law. But he would not refuse her husband's prayer. Therefore, the application for excuse was submitted to her husband. She prayed to Lord Shiva as follows. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Gnanjala Shalakaya Chakshun Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Sramrupa Karamahayam Dadati Swabharantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shetaf Parakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnamamsha Sri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunattam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sarvetam Savadutam Prayujani Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lita Shri Vishakam Vitamsha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dino Bandhu Jagatpate Kubisha Kubika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosite Tapta Kanchara Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Paramami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatiru Vishakapasani Vechapatidana Bhavani Vaishnavi Vyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Vishnaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivikasa Swami Iti Namane Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Vishnaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Prachayani Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Varigadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhukam Karoti Vachalam Pungam Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatam Aham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Ditis tu vrīḍitā tena karmāvadyena Bharata upasṅgamya viprarṣim adho-mukhy abhyabhāṣata. Translation: O son of the Bharata family, Diti after this went nearer to her husband, her face lowered because of her faulty action. She spoke as follows. So, as we know, if a person doesn't follow the regulative principles in following the indulgence of sexual intercourse, then we understand, like, the karmāvadyena samskara. If we don't follow these processes of devotional service towards Krishna, favorable towards Krishna consciousness, then naturally we will suffer, because as we can see here, we're reading along in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Diti, she, later on in the text, her husband tells her, because of your minds being polluted, because of defilement of the particular time, because of your negligence of my directions, and because of your being apathetic to the demigods, everything was inauspicious. So we can understand that Diti whimsically just didn't listen to her husband, which that's a very, as we know, is not so dharmic actually. The wife should always listen to the husband. Dharma patni, that is very important, and also the time is also very important for when trying to conceive of a child. Everything, basically, Kaśyapa was actually saying that everything was inauspicious. Nothing was auspicious about this action actually. So she was very scared because she realized what she has done, and Prabhupada says that in the Purport that when one is ashamed of an abominable action, one naturally becomes down-faced. Meaning that she became very, like when a person indulges in sinful reactions or sinful activities, he becomes very, he becomes very, like he regrets, ashamed, remorseful.
the person understands that what did I just do? It's like, was it really worth it? I should have, she's just thinking like this. She's thinking like this, like, was it really worth it? And like, after all, like, all he had to do, Kaśyapa Muni, all he did was just, can you just wait a little bit? Just be a little patient. And those are Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita, actually, that these are the qualities, these are the good qualities, patience, tolerance, like this. He says that in the 17th chapter, I believe. These different qualities, he gives a whole list. And, we have to, try to overcome these disgusting desires, because it's very, it will cause us lots of trouble in the future. As we can see now here, Diti, she's being very regretful for what she has done, very ashamed. There's this in Bhagavad Gita. If you can, I need my DJ. Okay, so in chapter 7, text number 11, balam balavatam chaham kama raga vivarjitam dharma virodha bhuteshu kamasmi bharatarshaba. I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. I am sex life which is not contrary to religious principles, O Lord of the Bharatas. So like Krishna says here himself, that he is sex life which is not contrary to religious principles. And as we can see here, we're reading along today that Diti, she went against the scriptural injunctions for sexual intercourse. So because of this action, she had to suffer very much because of her. She was instead of, because in the next purport, she says that she was, please, she was speaking to her husband, please, kindly see that my embryo is not killed by Lord Shiva. And she wanted to have kids still. She had the desires to still have kids after her lusty desires, but she still wanted kids. She said, please don't let Lord Shiva kill my children. But then Kaśyapa was like, okay, that's fine. But the 2 children that are coming from your belly are the 2 biggest demons in the entire universe. So, there's always a price to pay when it comes to the material world. There's always a price to pay. So we can understand this completely. All these activities are completely against Krishna consciousness. And actually, Srila Prabhupada he's really heavy in this purport. He classifies this action as prostitution, actually, because it's not in accordance of Vedic injunctions. So for a person who doesn't have sex for the purpose of procreation, then we understand that it's against Vedic injunctions, and Prabhupada even calls it classified as prostitution, because it is contrary to the principles of what that Lord Krishna gave. And so we have to understand that this is actually a very serious matter. I mean, what to speak of? Diti, she's the daughter of Daksha, and she married Kaśyapa, and he's actually a very exalted personality too, Kaśyapa Muni, and even her Kaśyapa's brother-in-law is Lord Shiva. So such high personalities, and even so, she had to suffer so much because of her 2 sons. So much infamy. They're like infamous throughout the 3 worlds, and still today we're still talking about them now. So what to speak of us, right? We're just not even such exalted personalities in this material world, but even us, we're definitely going to have to suffer if we decide to go against the Vedic injunctions. So it's a very serious thing. She was after hearing what her after hearing what her sons would be like, she became very regretful because of for her lusty desires. And if you can pull this up, Bhagavad Gita 3:37. Yeah. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Kama Esha Koda Esha Rajaguna Samud Bhavaha Mahashano Mahapapam Vidhi Enam Iha Varinam. the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "It is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world." If you can go down to the book. When a living entity comes in contact with the material creation, his eternal love for Krishna is transformed into lust. In association with the mode of passion, or in other words, the sense of love of God, becomes transformed into lust, as milk in contact with sour tamarind is transformed into yogurt. Then again, when lust is unsatisfied, it turns into wrath. Wrath is transformed into illusion, and illusion continues the material existence. Therefore, lust is the greatest enemy of the living entity, and it is lust only which induces the pure living entity to remain entangled in the material world. Wrath is the manifestation of the mode of ignorance. These modes exhibit themselves as wrath and other corollaries. If therefore the mode of passion, instead of being degraded into the mode of ignorance, is elevated to the mode of goodness by the prescribed method of living and acting, then one can be saved from the degradation of wrath by spiritual attachment. So we can see here that this lust is very, very dangerous. It's very destructive, actually, especially in our spiritual life. Even in materialistic life, it completely destroys everything. Due to this wrath, these lusty desires we create havoc in our lives and even destruction. For a great example, Duryodhana, he was the son of Dhritarashtra, and due to his lusty actions, due to his lusty desires, he did not want to give the kingdom back to the Pandavas, and he disrobed Draupadi. Well, his Dushyashan, his brother, but he's the one who, wanted it to happen like this. Made it happen in the assembly hall of all the crews, so like this. And just because of just because of this one desire that he had to try to take down the Pandavas, is very sinful desire. He actually destroyed his entire crew family because of this. Everyone got annihilated in the war, just because he wanted to fulfill his sinful, lusty desires. And not only that, there's many examples. Ajamil, in the forest, he just by seeing him, a prostitute and another man embracing, he got filled with lusty desires, and he fell down from his high status as a brāhmaṇa, and he fell down from devotional service and engaged in many sinful activities. So like this, these lusty desires are very, very dangerous, and it's very difficult to overcome, actually, these destructive desires. But instead, we should try to redirect our desires in Krishna consciousness. There's actually a lecture by His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami. It says, the lecture is called, it's a really good lecture. It's called Being Lusty in Krishna Consciousness, or Be Lusty for Krishna, like this, something like this, I forgot. But it's really good. In there, he says that we should try to redirect our desires. And we also know that lust is not only meaning sex. Lust just means material desires also. So we should try to redirect our desires instead of in materialistic life, but for Krishna service, for Krishna senses instead. And if you can pull this up, Mam cha vyapicharena saguna, Mam cha vyapicharena bhakti yogena sevate saguna samatitarya brahma bhuyaya kalpate. 14:26. Here we go to translation. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, as once transcends the modes of material nature, and thus comes to the level of Brahman. If you can go to the translation. Yeah, I'm sorry, Purport, sorry. This verse is a reply to Arjuna's third question. What is the means of attaining to the transcendental position? I explained before, the material world is acting under the spell of the modes of material nature. One should not be disturbed by the activities of the modes of nature. Instead of putting his consciousness into such activities, he may transfer his consciousness to Krishna activities. Krishna activities are known as bhakti yoga, always acting for Krishna. This includes not only Krishna, but his different planetary expanses such as Rama and Narayana. He has innumerable expansions. One who is engaged in the service of any of the forms of Krishna or his plenary expansions is considered to be transcendently situated. One should also know that all the forms of Krishna are fully transcendental, blissful, full of knowledge, and eternal. Such personalities of Godhead are omnipotent and omniscient, and they possess all the transcendental qualities. So if one engages himself in the service of Krishna or his plenary expansions with unfailing determination, all these modes of material nature are very difficult to overcome. One can overcome them easily. So, like I said, we have to try to redirect our desires and to Krishna service like this, to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we will be able to overcome the three modes of material nature, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also, Daivi Yeshu Ganamami, Mama Mayam Durataya, Mam Eva Prapadyante, Mayam Etam Tarantite. You know, the three modes of material nature are very hard to overcome, but if you just surrender unto me, then they're very easily, you can cross over them. So like this, we need to engage in Krishna service. Then ultimately we have to go through the process. If we don't surrender unto Krishna, then ultimately we have to go through the process of dehinus penyata dehe, repeated birth and death. And in the newest lecture, it's actually in accordance to this too. It goes along with this purport. This newest lecture that Guru Maharaj came out, sex is suffering. Oh my gosh, I didn't even listen to the whole thing yet, but you know, it's just 12 minutes in. It's extremely, extremely real. It's the most realist lecture I have ever heard so far. And like honestly, like it's amazing. And I feel like I need to listen to that lecture at least every day, at least once, because it's really amazing and it really applies to me. So yeah, I mean, you know, like it's really amazing. So actually, in accordance to this Dehinus Menyata Dehe that I was saying, we actually, me and Abhimanyu Sutta Prabhu personally saw this firsthand when we went to New Talavan. And when we saw this, I literally felt like Krishna gave us some direct realization. It was like pretty crazy actually. And basically, when we were in New Talavan, we went to Abhimanyu Sutta Prabhu's grandpa's house, Devi Bhuja Prabhu, and we were about to leave. And as we were leaving, we were just discussing with his aunt, and we were telling her about, like, you know, like how people should take up this Krishna consciousness seriously. Like, you know, some gurukulis, they have this great opportunity, but they're not taking it up. So, you know, we have the chance. We should do it immediately. We shouldn't waste any time. And we shouldn't waste any time, and we should immediately take up to this Krishna consciousness, you know, because we don't know when we're gonna die. And it was really amazing because we were literally just talking about this, and we're about to go, we're about to leave. We open, yeah. Huh? Yeah. But who says that? Bhaktivinoda Thakur? It's better to be an animal, like an insect or a worm, than in the association of devotees, than to be someone who's not in association with devotees. And it was really amazing. He just quoted that from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and we were about to leave. We opened the door. We opened the door, and Abhimanyu Sutta Prabhu's aunt, she has a dog, and as soon as we opened the door, there's some raccoons like taking down the prasadam, the leftover prasadam, the Mahaprasadam that Devi Bhuja Prabhu and his wife give to the animals. And then they open the door, and Abhimanyu Sutta Prabhu's Abhimanyu Sutta Prabhu's aunt's dog just pounces on the raccoons immediately. And like there's like multiple raccoons, they all just like go over here and there, just like running for their lives, yeah. And then we thought like I thought like, okay, they all got away. But then the dog actually caught one and like caught him in the jugular. And like the dog the raccoon just dead. Like not immediately, it was still alive. Like, you know, it was still couple breaths left. Like it was literally like this. We literally saw it die. It was like its last breaths, literally like 3 last breaths. And it was just like, and then like, but you know, it was really crazy because like we did not expect that at all. You know, it's just like immediate death right there, right in front of us. I mean, that was a very fortunate raccoon actually, because it died taking down prasadam, and it was in association with devotees. We chanted Hare Krishna before it died, so you know, it's pretty fortunate raccoon actually. But yeah. It was really crazy though. Like when I saw that happen, I was like, dude, Krishna, like we literally just talk about this, and it just happens right now. It was like Krishna just gave us direct realization, like, look, you don't know when you're gonna die, and you got to take this up right now. And like that, Abhimanyu Sutabu gave a good analogy. He was like, the dog is time and the raccoon is us. It's like, it could just happen anytime. We don't even know, It's just like, it was really bizarre. It really felt like Krishna was giving us direct realization, So it was, we shouldn't neglect this human form of life, according to these, like, back once again, like, one is ashamed when one commits abominable activities. And that's why Diti, she's very ashamed because she understands what she did was completely, this human form of life is very rare. And now she's understanding the circumstances she's in now. And it's really horrible, like you just become completely, you in that one, for that one moment, you're bewildered by the material energy. And then after that, you're just like, or at least, I mean, if you're like purified, then you should be able, Prabhupada even says, one naturally becomes down-faced, for after doing a sinful activity. So, we should try our very level best to not get bewildered by these things. If you can pull this up, I'm sorry. Canto 5, Chapter 8, text number 27. I guess I can just read it. I mean, it's just like a little small thing. It's not really. It's in the purport. This is but I remember reading this not too long ago, and in the purport it says, if you can scroll down, it's more down. It's like all the way down. If you go up, all the way, go down. Okay, there you go. Due to his willful neglect of devotional service, a devotee may be punished for a short time, but he again revives his devotional service and returns home back to Godhead. So I'm saying this because this is according to Bharata Maharaj. He was actually a great king, and then he was actually very pious, and then he went to the forest to perform austerities and leave his kingdom behind and everything, and he was ready to go back home back to Godhead. That's what he was doing for the end of his life as when he was a king. He gave up everything and tried to go back home back to Godhead. But because of this bewilderment of the material nature and because of these desires, he got bewildered and he saved this deer and he completely forgot everything, and then this is what Prabhupada says in the purport, that due to his neglect, due to his willful neglect of devotional service, a devotee may be punished for a short time. So then Krishna punished him in his next life because he became too attached to a deer. He became a deer, and then so what to speak of us? We have to be very careful, actually, because we all have free will, and we can willfully neglect our devotional service like this at any point in time. Especially, we don't have so much time in this material world. 100 years. 100 years, actually, 100 years is not that long, compared to Lord Brahma's life, Lord Indra's life, the demigod's life like this. 100 years is, you're not even guaranteed to live 100 years. So, we should try our best, So we have to take this medicine of devotional service so we can be purified, because the person who just, the doctor, which is the guru, he prescribes this medicine so he can heal us from this infectious disease of material existence, But for such a person who doesn't want to take this medicine, or who ignores the medicine, or who ignores the doctor, the fire of material lust never becomes satisfied. Like I was hearing this lecture, this lecture recently, and His Holiness Bhakti-Vikas Maharaj says that a fire, when you put ghee into a fire, the fire doesn't just say, okay, yeah, I'm satisfied, that's it, it just wants, the fire wants more and more and more and more, so this is the same thing with these lusty desires, just more and more and more, it never ends, So we have to try our best always to try to engage ourselves in devotional service, because it's a constant war with Maya. If you could put up Bhagavad Gita 339. You can just go to the translation. Thus, the wise living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. It is said in the Manusmriti that lust cannot be satisfied by any amount of sense enjoyment, just as fire is never extinguished by a constant supply of fuel. In the material world, the center of all activities is sex, and thus this material world is called Maitunya Agra, or the shackles of sex life. In the ordinary prison house, criminals are kept within bars. Similarly, the criminals who are disobedient to the laws of the Lord are shackled by sex life. Advancement of material civilizations on the basis of sense gratifications means increasing the duration of the material existence of a living entity. Therefore, this lust is a symbol of ignorance by which the living entity is kept within the material world. While one enjoys sense gratification, it may be that there is some feeling of happiness, but actually, that so-called feeling of happiness is the ultimate enemy of the sense enjoyer. I like to say this a lot on book distribution that, like, people ask me, like, why did you become a monk? I'm like, easy question. Easy answer. I tell them, because I want to be happy. They're like, oh, you're happy? I'm like, yeah, of course I'm happy. because if you think, I tell them, if you think about it logically, right? If you think about it logically, rationally, it just makes so much sense, actually. Because even in science, there's matter, and in science we understand, in physical science, we understand that matter is like created, destroyed, whatever. There's a beginning. We understand there's a beginning and there's an end. Everybody, even scientists know that there's a beginning and an end to matter. So what to speak of, right? That material sentimentality attached to that material object. There's also a beginning and there's also an end. It's just logical, it makes complete sense. So this spirituality, this process of Krishna consciousness, is completely transcendental to that matter. So naturally, that happiness or these emotions that we get in Krishna consciousness are also a spiritual. It's not the same as mundane happiness or mundane emotions. It's completely transcendental. So Prabhupada would always say that stay high forever, like that. So we should try our best to go beyond this materialism, because, as I said here, is the ultimate enemy of the sense enjoyer. You really don't get any. It really doesn't make any sense, actually, logically, rationally. It just doesn't make any sense. The best process is to take up to the Krishna consciousness, take it seriously, and try our best to always engage in it. If you can pull up this Srimad Bhagavatam 5.13.10. This is what happens when you decide not to follow. If you could just go to translation. If you want to just continue the fire, this is what happens. Sometimes, in order to have a little insignificant sex enjoyment, one searches after debauched women. In this attempt, one is insulted and chastised by the woman's kinsmen. This is like going to take honey from a beehive and being attacked by the bees. Sometimes, after spending lots of money, one may acquire another woman for some extra sense enjoyment. Unfortunately, the object of sense enjoyment, the women, is taken away or kidnapped by another debauchee. Purport. In a great forest, honeycombs are very important. People often go there to collect honey from the combs, and sometimes the bees attack and punish them. In human society, those who are not Krishna conscious remain in the forest of material life simply for the honey of sex life. Such debauchees are not at all satisfied with one wife. They want many women. Day after day, with great difficulty, they try to secure such women, and sometimes while trying to taste this kind of honey, one is attacked by a woman's kinsmen and chastised very heavily. By bribing others, one may secure another woman for enjoyment, yet another debauchee may kidnap her or offer her something better. This woman hunting is going on in the forest of material world, sometimes legally and sometimes illegally. Consequently, in this Krishna conscious movement, the devotees are forbidden to have illicit sex. Thus they avoid so many difficulties. One should remain satisfied with one woman. Being duly married, one can satisfy one's lusty desires with his wife without creating disturbances in society and being punished for doing so. Prabhupada said it, not me. So we understand that by what Prabhupada is saying, that, we can save ourselves so much trouble. You know, we can save so much trouble for not engaging in these lusty desires. Instead of engaging in our own senses, we can satisfy the senses of Krishna, Rishikesha, Rishikena. I don't know the rest. Bhakti, what is it? Rishikesha, Sevanam Bhakti Uchite. Yeah. So instead of engaging our own senses, we engage in Krishna senses, like this. And there's so many examples in the Bhagavatam where people regret what they've done. Diti, this is just one example of many others, you know. And so we have a long way to go, but we should definitely try to endeavor our very level best. And in the next purport, a way to do this is that, you know, Diti was, Prabhupada says in Purport, Diti was conscious of her offense and was anxious to be excused by Lord Shiva because she knew that, you know, she angered a great personality. Lord Shiva has two popular names, Rudra and Ashutosha. He is very prone to anger as well as quickly pacified. So Diti was very anxious to hurry up and try to rectify her wrongdoings. Like, oh no, you know, Lord Shiva is angry. That's really bad. You know, so she immediately went to her husband and asked her, please offer prayers to Lord Shiva because you're his great devotee. You know, because I need to be freed from this sinful reaction. You know, immediately she became ashamed and wanted to rectify her consequences. You know, and you know, there's a verse like, hold on, I'm sorry. There's a verse like this in the Bhagavatam where I can like kind of like quote it. But like in the verse in the Bhagavatam, it says that, you know, devotees of the Lord, as they fall down from the platform of Krishna consciousness, they come back again and they're very regretful for what they've done, but they still engage in Krishna consciousness, something like this. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is, yeah. Having awakened faith in the narrations of my glories, being disgusted with all material activities, knowing that all sense gratification leads to misery, but still being unable to renounce all sense enjoyment, my devotee should remain happy and worship me with a great faith and conviction. Even though he is sometimes engaged in sense enjoyment, my devotee knows that all sense gratification leads to a miserable result, and he sincerely repents such activities. So, you know, even Diti, she repented. She completely like was regretful of her activities. So she wanted to immediately rectify what she did, because Lord Shiva, she was afraid. You know, she told her husband, you know, please, you know, kindly see that my embryo is not killed by Lord Shiva, because he was very angry. And he's also Ashutosha, so he's also very quickly pacified. So in doing so, her husband offered prayers to Lord Shiva. But instead of killing her children, you know, there's always, like I said, you know, like there's an eye for an eye, as they say, an eye for an eye. So because of her sinful reaction, she had to bear the biggest demoniac children in the entire universe. So we should be very careful of our desires and be very careful of trying to not fall down in our position of Krishna consciousness, and we should try to strictly adhere to the doctor's prescriptions, which is the guru's instructions. So like this, that's all I have for now. If anybody has any comments, questions, corrections, take them now.
This characteristic of Diti, realizing the mistake that she did, and then again going to Kaśyapa and asking him to seek forgiveness from Lord Shiva and asking him to protect. See, you can see this in one way as glorious, in the sense that, well, at least she went back to her husband, and that, you know, that sense she's properly sheltered. In another sense, it's just a nuisance. Because the nature of protecting and providing for those who are rather sensual is that you have to understand that they tend to be less intelligent. And there's only so much you can expect from them, which means that association with them means that one will have to go through this, that you'll tell them not to do something, go ahead and do it anyways. And then they'll come back and cry and throw the mess on your lap and tell you to deal with it. And that's what one has to deal with. That's the expense of getting the other, what you can say, the other facilities of associating with the opposite sex, and children also, same thing. Their cuteness comes at a cost. They both start with C. And so it's a price. And one who is somewhat trained and intelligent, initially he may think that, especially when they're young and lusty desires are unable to be controlled and they go to the grahastha ashram responsibly. But if they're trained after some time, and if they're fixed up, it will be natural for them to think that, why do I have to deal with all of this? And that's impetus for vanaprastha, is that, because they're going to keep doing this, and it's a waste of time, a waste of life. That's what you create an unnecessary mess in the first place, and then you spend more unnecessary time cleaning that mess up. And in the meantime, you also have to suffer the reactions for the mess that was created, because the mess shouldn't have been created in the first place.
Yeah.
And so you go through this whole waste of time. It's pointless. It serves no purpose in the ultimate goal of life. And so, yeah, this it's what Kaśyapa, you can't just tell him, I told you, deal with it. You can't do that. You have to still deal with it too.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, because it's and it's easy to get really fried out, really fried out.
Yeah.
And you can't explode, you can't implode, you can't do any of that. You got to maintain your calm, understand your duty, accept your responsibility, clean the mess, and then deal with any reaction. It's not just Diti who had to suffer the reaction. It's Kaśyapa's sons too.
Yeah.
He also had to suffer the reaction. So, yeah. And then that's the nature, right? You won't make, there's not a single person in this world who can say that they've made all their decisions always right, perfect, no fault. It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible. Whichever you may be. No brahmachari can say that, no grahastha can say that, no vanaprastha can say that, no sannyasi can say that. So it's the nature of the material world. But it's one thing when you make the mistake. It's another thing when you tell someone, don't do this, this is going to happen, it's a mistake. They do it anyways, and then you're responsible, and you got to clean up. It's not fun.
Yeah, it's a really big
Yeah.
burden.
On the lusty desires point, sometimes people might think, okay, it's very difficult for me to avoid a certain activity. I'm very tempted by it, whatever it is. But we can see that the longer amount of time that you avoid that activity, the less of a grip it has on you. And that's mentioned in the Manu Samhita, that the more you can abstain from some sinful reaction, the less of a grip it has. So if you just keep going with it, it gets easier. But then if someone thinks, okay, I'm just going to go for it, then all they're doing is making their life harder, because now they're stuck in it even more. It's got more of a hold on them.
Once too many, 1,000 never enough.
Yeah, that's the saying.
That's the purport.
The nice example in that regard is quicksand. The more you try to wiggle yourself and try to the more you actually get entangled. The deal with quicksand is you wait until someone can literally like pull you out. Goes out of it because if you're in quicksand and the more you move, the more you sink. If you stay put, you're just gonna stay there. You don't do anything. You just restrain yourself. The temptation is to try to climb out, but the more you try to climb out of quicksand, the more you're actually gonna get into it. And the only way that you can come out of quicksand is someone has to throw you a rope, and to hold that rope and you pull you out. Then you can come out of quicksand. Quicksand's a freaky thing, actually. We don't have to deal with it because we don't live in the desert, but otherwise it's a really scary thing. It has no difference to anything around it. And only when you enter it, you realize you can't get out.
Prabhu, I was just thinking about how you were saying that by refraining from these different simple actions, it saves us so much trouble. Just so much trouble in general. It's like, it's amazing how much like trouble just one sinful action is associated with. Like I just think about my past, just like whenever like we associate with like drugs or a woman, it's not just the woman or drugs, but like the environment it puts you into, and the kind of people that are in that environment and the different scenarios it can put you in. It's just so much troublesome. Like we were talking to this really lusty older man named Stan. He was like 52 years old, but he was so attached to illicit sex, and he even said that as you get older, you become even more lusty. Which is crazy, because I was thinking like, you're getting older, you probably said, he's like, no, it only gets worse. But which was crazy. But then he was like saying like, you guys, like, how are you doing it, man? That's crazy. You guys got to do it, But then it was funny. We started talking about all these problems about illicit sex, and we talked about STDs on the campus. And then he was saying, he was researching a lot. He said, yeah, at least 25% of the people on this campus have like STDs, which I thought was actually underestimation. But it's really amazing, how many people, by like associating with illicit sex, so many troubles such as like STDs can cause you. And it's, it seems like such like a little thing, just have illicit sex, but all these problems arise. And immediately when we talked about that, he was like, actually, yeah, you guys are like doing the right thing.
Yeah, eventually he came to the senses. He was like, actually, you guys are actually right. What you're saying is actually right.
And so it was like so many problems. Like even like STDs is like enough to like make you not want to.
Yeah, I mean, it's really disgusting.
Sex. But just another point, I was just thinking about how Diti, although she was like sincere in her repentance for her sinful action, she still had to suffer.
Yeah.
Like although she was sincere in her repentance, like she still had the biggest demons. It seems almost like cruel, almost like she like sincerely repented, and then she took shelter, of her husband, but still you got the two biggest demons ever, even though you like regretted it. So is this like, because I don't know if she's like a pure devotee of Krishna, is this like a lesson from Krishna, or was this action caused by Shiva? How to understand that?
Well, I don't think she's a pure devotee of Krishna. From my understanding, I don't think she is. She's a devotee. I don't know. I don't know who she's a devotee of. I can't really say. I think she's a devotee of Lord Shiva. I believe so. I'm not sure because her husband's. It says in the purport that her husband is a great devotee of Lord Shiva. Let me see. Sorry. She implored her brāhmaṇa husband to help her in passing Lord Shiva, for her husband was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. So, Kaśyapa Muni was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. I assume she was too. I mean, I'm not sure. Probably not. I mean, because I don't know, honestly. I really don't know. But, I mean, I think this was Lord Shiva, we in other classes earlier that other devotees gave, Lord Shiva is a great personality, and he's giving, Lord Shiva, I was remembering, and I forgot who gave the class, but one of the devotees said that Lord Shiva is, he's engaged in that service of, of producing demons, like this, and like this, that's a service, to, Krishna he's empowered by Krishna like this, or, Lord Shiva is, like that yogurt, simultaneously one and different like that, whatever. But it's Lord Shiva is a great devotee of Lord Vishnu, of Lord Krishna, and it's Lord Shiva's service to do that. So I guess Lord, in one sense it was Lord Shiva's doing, but ultimately everything is Lord Krishna's doing at the same time. But Lord Shiva did his service like that because that was just his service to impart that punishment upon Diti, because she actually offended Lord Shiva, because during that time she had, like it says there, like I read earlier, that because of your minds being polluted, because of defilement of the particular time, and when she did that particular time, that was like, not an auspicious time, and so Lord Shiva had to do what he had to do, carry out his service.
Well, first off, they didn't pray to the Supreme Lord.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Second thing is, even if one prays to the Supreme Lord, sometimes the reaction has to be experienced in order to rectify completely. Otherwise, the rectification is incomplete. And regarding Diti being a devotee, it seems that initially they weren't, but later they did. I mean, Kaśyapa is father of Vamandev. And but again, just like we see with many great devotees, the Sanat Kumaras were once said to just be Brahmavadis, and then they smell the tulasi fragrance emanating from the lotus feet of the Lord, and then that transforms their consciousness. And like this, or we have the story of Shukadeva Goswami. So like that, we see that later we discussed this actually recently, that later when the Maruts are born, Diti wanted a son who would kill Indra. But at that time, Kaśyapa engaged her in worshipping Krishna. He didn't just fulfill her desire right away like where he did this time. He realized and he gave her a better solution, which was to worship the Supreme Lord. And that purified her. And then, but even though Indra was trying to kill the progeny in the womb, by the mercy of the Supreme Lord, the progeny was protected, and the Maruts were born, and the Maruts became demigods even though they were born from Diti. Wow. And so that story is found in the Bhagavatam also.
Yeah, we've had a robust conversation about this. If Kaśyapa Muni is he a Vaishnava or is he? Because in previous purports, Kaśyapa Muni is described as an impersonalist who meditated on the Brahma Jyoti, and then it's also described that he's a worshiper of Lord Shiva.
Yeah, like we just.
So it's like, so I was looking into this because I'm like, there's also points that Prabhupada said that he was always transcendently situated, meditating on the lotus feet of Krishna. So I'm like, okay, which one is it? So I actually was looking at Jayadeva Goswami's Dasavatar Shotra, and the fourth incarnation of Krishna is Nishimadev, right? And we know that Lord Nrsimha, he came to kill the sons of Kaśyapa. Right. He came to kill them. So it seems like he was an impersonalist at that time. But then it's interesting, the next incarnation was Lord Vamana. And Lord Vamana was also a son of Kaśyapa Muni. So it seems that he was actually an impersonalist at first, right? Because that's how he was able to produce these demons, the Hiranyakashipu. And then after, I guess he became a Vaishnava, and then he was able to give birth of Lord Vamanadev. Because how can you be the father of Vamanadev if you're not a devotee? Like how can Krishna come? Like
Hiranyakashipu was the father of Prahlad Maharaj.
Huh?
Hiranyakashipu, he's the father of Prahlad Maharaj.
No, I'm saying that Kaśyapa Muni, he was the father of Hiranyakashipu.
No, but I'm saying. He's just saying you can be a demon. You can be a demon in heaven.
No. The father. So Krishna, so that's a devotee. I'm talking. As when Krishna descends, he always comes.
There's no instance of Krishna being born from
Krishna, a demon can come, right? A demon can come from a devotee. I mean, a devotee can come from a demon, right? A devotee can come from a demon, and a demon can come from a devotee. You see Prabhupada's kids, right? A demon can also come. You see Lord Varaha. What's his devotee name? Narakasura. Yes, Lord Varaha.
Krishna's never been born.
But Krishna never is born from a demon or a personalist. There's never an instance where Krishna comes to it. So, like I said, in the 5th incarnation, when he came through Kaśyapa Muni, it seems like by that time he was rectified. Whether that was his Leela, I don't want to get in. I don't know if that was his Leela. I don't know what happened, what made that transformation. I don't know. But the point is, Kaśyapa Muni is a devotee. And he's a great devotee because he was able to be the father. That's what I'm saying, because we've had this, y'all missed a lot. We've been having this discussion.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
So, for a minute. So, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, that would be confusing because we did just read that he was a great devotee. Anyway, yeah,
That's crazy.
makes sense.
I never knew that actually.
Is that it? Anything else?
Well, Diti is also the father of Vamana.
All right, Srimad Bhagavatam.
That's Aditi.
Oh, Aditi. Of course, yeah.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
At least Aditi. I don't know about Diti.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
That's a good point. I don't know. Ask Vishnu. I don't know if Diti is a great devotee or not. I know Aditi.
Chanda was supposed to be.
Aditi. Yeah.
All of Aditi's sons are
All the demons came from, and then all the demons came from Diti. So it seems like, I don't know. It seems like Diti. I don't know about Diti. Maybe Vishnu knows.
She probably, because she's a false, she